Who's your emergency contact? Who should we notify in the case of death? Welcome to the USP, where I've spent the last 2+ decades of my life. You know, as we go on in the smooth, we move every three weeks. But even though we're just sitting in the smooth, twiddling our thumb or whatever, trying to keep ourselves busy, reading, studying, whatever it is to, try to make yourself, try to keep yourself occupied and keep your sanity. At the same time, while we're there, we're still in communication with people on the compound. Not per se Louisburg, but all around the system. We have a network that we keep in touch, let everybody know what's going on, what to be aware of, just in case, if the homies got into another compound, we get word and be able to watch our back or do whatever we feel like we need to do accordingly. So while we were there, at this time, the homie Easy from Glendale is my cellie. And he has cousins and co-defendants all throughout the feds. The TCG from Glendale, they all got indicted back around 2009, 2012, in between that time period, where they RICO'd their whole hood and claimed them to be, criminal enterprise. But fortunately, just a few years ago, they got all their case overturned. They had a homie named Cap Mama. He had 57 years and got his time back and he's home now. Easy had 37 years. Like all these dudes, they all had decades and they were able to win their case and are now home. Well, for us, we don't have any obligations to anybody else that's not Asian or Islander, or that's not from around where we're from. But if you're Asian, if you're an Islander, and if you're from Utah, specifically just for me and the homies from Utah, then we are able to insert ourselves and decide on certain things when it comes up pertaining to these individuals. Well, this dude that I'm sharing the story about today, his name is Sugar Bear. He's half white, half Samoan. Back in 2008, when I went to Atwater, the homies in Atwater was telling me about, the History Channel, where they had these episode called On Gangland, and they were telling me about these dudes, these polys, that were on TV being interviewed by Gangland. Now, some people might not have an issue with you being on TV, being on Gangland, divulging all the secrets of, letting the TV have an intimate look at your organization, your gang, and what's going around in your city. And it's a fine line because, at the same time, people can be like, oh, what are you doing on YouTube? Aren't you putting yourself out on TV, exposing certain things and this and that? Some people can look at it that way, but I believe there's a difference. Like I've repeated, I'm doing this with the blessings of the people around me. And that includes people from my hood. That includes the homies out here in the streets, in the city. That includes the people that I left behind that's still locked up in the penitentiary. I'm not an ex-member. I'm not an ex-anything. I've evolved and moved on with my life, and I feel that I have a different mission now as far as I've been in hell. I've been stuck in a cell. I've been in the cold, starving. I've been, I've been beat up. I've been jumped. I've been stabbed. I've had freaking canisters of the OC shot at me. I've been hit with bean bags. I've been on the front line. I've been in riots. I've been in wars. And for me, my objective outside of just entertaining you guys is just maybe my story, maybe my experience, and even some of the wisdom that I've gathered through the years. Maybe that all these things combined can help and redirect the next generation or even people that's come home to take a second look at the things that they're doing. Because I can tell you right now from personal experience, you don't want to be where I've been. You don't want to have to live the life that I lived as far as being locked down for 2+ decades. And even after 2+ decades, I consider myself fortunate that I was able to have the opportunity to return home where some of my friends, some of these people that I've known and grew up with and build relationship with and care about are never coming home. So back in 2008, I heard about they did a gangland in Utah, about the gangs and stuff in Utah. And we were there, like some of the homies that are from other spots or whatever, they were clowning us. Like, damn, that's what you guys doing out there in Utah, getting on TV, this and that. Well, we're gonna fast forward to me being in the Smooth. I'm in the Smooth. It's going towards the winter of 2016. And this shit is cold in there. But, Louisburg, it was built back in the 1930s. When you pull up to Louisburg and look at it, it looks like an old castle, old rundown castle. The cells are small. There's no heater. There's no air conditioner. What they have for a heater is a pipe, a steam pipe. If you're on the 3rd level, at the bottom on the 1st floor, the pipe is about, maybe there's about this size. I don't know the diameter of this is, but on the 3rd floor is huge. It's maybe, about the size of a basketball as far as round, and that shit burns you up. When you're in there, you have to wrap a blanket around the pipe so you don't get cooked in the cell. Like we used to be able to make just bags of coffee, put the coffee in there, put the water in there or whatever, and stick it in between the blanket and the pipe, and in 5 minutes, the water is boiling. So while we were there, the homie Easy gets a letter from his cousin Scope. That's in Florence, Colorado. The place that I ended up going after I left Louisburg. So in Florence, the dude Sugar Bear showed up. He's from Utah. I first met him back in 1995 when we were kids in the county jail fighting our case. And, I don't know too much or anything about him or his history, but the rumor was that he used to be a Blood out of California. But when he came out here and went out to the state joint, he became a Crip. But he didn't join a Polynesian gang, which are SOS, SIA, Park Village, or any of the Tongan gangs, which are the TCG and Baby Regulators. Those are the dominant gangs that are in the state joint and are out here in the streets as far as all the Polynesian go. But he was a Crip. He joined the gang Lalo Crip. It's an old Crip hood out here. They're a mixture of different races. You got natives, Mexicans, whites. I think I even ran into some black dudes that were out here from Lalo Crip. But he was on Gangland back in 2008, 2007. They did an interview, and some of the things that he said on there, some of the homies out here from Utah had issues with. So when he hit the compound in Florence, the homie Chavalon, he's out here. He used to be out here from KMD. But, they got indicted for a murder back in 2001. And he ended up going to the feds and he ended up joining the organization, the Texas Inmate. And he rose to the ranks, you know, through the years, and he was in a position. I think he was security for them at the time that I met him in Florence. So while he was there, he went to scope, because as soon as Sugar Bear hit the compound, the whole yard recognized him. Because, you know, people in prison, for whatever reason that is just beyond my understanding, they like to watch other prison shows. You know, they're sitting there in a fucking unit with their khakis watching some fucking county jail show, you know, the reality show where people are coming in or whatever. And for me, it's just like, you guys don't see enough of that shit. All you have to do is look around you and you can see motherfuckers in jail. You have plenty of drama inside the block and on the yard as it is, but still you want to go watch a reality show about other motherfuckers being locked up. And one of the other shows that they like to watch is the Gangland. You know, because of its history and because people like to see, you know, maybe a story on their hood or on their organization or whatever. But a lot of times you have to understand that these shows like Gangland, they're being brought to you from a perspective of a buster. Somebody debriefed and gave you the ins and outs of these different organizations. You'll notice, you know, one of the two main individuals that are interviewed are 9 out of 10 ex-gang member. You know, whatever excuse they give you, whatever, at the end of the day, they got X'd out. They're not in good standing with their organization no more. And they're sitting there on the Gangland show debriefing. Now, I don't know the extent of what this dude Sugar Bear was saying when he was on Gangland, because I never saw it. Don't care to see it. Don't want to know about it, you know. But when he got to the compound, people recognized him as being on TV. And they started whispering. But at the end of the day, Chavalon pulled up on scope and was like, hey, man, you know, that dude was on TV on Gangland, because the homie Chavalon's out here from Utah. So they made a decision, Scope and this other Hawaiian dude, which I'll get to that story with the Hawaiian dude when we get to Florence. But Scope went into the gym and punished him. Him and the Hawaiian dude, mainly it was just Scope, you know, come to find out. But two of them went into the gym and went over there and punished Sugar Bear for being on Gangland. They stomped him out where he almost died, you know. They left him in the gym in his pool of blood, choking on his blood. Scope had to turn him on his side so that he wouldn't choke on his blood, and left out. But you know, everything that you do in there, everywhere you go, every unit you go into, every hallway you walk into, there's cameras. So at the end of the day, even though he didn't get caught at the scene of the crime doing what he did, the administration ran the camera back and came back and picked up Scope and the other Hawaiian dude and locked them up for the assault. And while we were there in the Smooth program, we get a letter letting us know what's going on over there. Because like all of us out here that come out of Utah, if we're in the streets, we're running around, we know each other. If we don't know each other, we know somebody that you know. I know somebody from every single hood out here that exists out here in the streets. I've done time with them. I've bumped heads with them. Or I've ran into them and kicked it with them. one time or another in the street. Somehow, some way, you know, if you're out here in the streets, you're going to know and run into each other. But, you know, like I said, there's a fine line between the things that you're able to come on TV, come on YouTube, and talk about. And the homies decided that the things that this dude named Sugar Bear was saying on TV as being part of the gangland, it was a no-no. And they treated it accordingly. Now, I don't know if his people out here, as far as them dudes from Lalo Crip, have an issue with him getting punished for being on gangland or anything about that. But they shouldn't have any issue about him getting punished. They should have an issue about him being on that motherfucking TV in the first place. You know, through the course of my bid, I've had opportunities presented to me to be on the TV show, be on 60 Minutes and Geraldo. You know, they came and tried to interview me to ask me about, you know, our little we're not an organization. Let's just get that straight. Our little street gang out here. But even before I knew the politics and all the different stuff that goes on with living this life, I knew that couldn't be good for my health to be on TV sharing stories about the things that my homies done and how our organization or our street gang started and whatnot. Because some of these people, they feel like it's cool to be interviewed or to debrief. Maybe they feel that, oh, I'm not telling on anything. But, you know, I don't know how to explain it because it depends on your opinion. Yeah, the stuff they get on there is informative or whatever. It's entertaining. But maybe your people really don't want you out there speaking about the things they've been doing out here. You know, the things that I talk about are things that have already been settled and are in court. And before I share you these stories that I share, for the most part, if I'm able to reach out to the people that I'm sharing the story about, I ask for their permission and get their blessings. Because above everything else, I'm always going to honor the code and conduct that I've bought into. And I'm always going to be respectful to the people around me. Because, you know, there's people that's asked me a few questions about certain things. And on my part, I can't answer them. Because I would feel like answering some of these questions that are being asked would be crossing a certain line because it's not my place to answer these questions. The things that I can share with you are just from my perspective. It's my experience going through this life and the people that I've met. And most of my stories that I share with you are about people that I respect and that I feel the world should know a little bit about them instead of just stamping them that they're a felon, a criminal, ex-con, and throwing them away. Because for me, I personally believe that even though you might not agree with the lifestyle that these guys chose, with the life path that they've taken, understand that this life ain't easy. This life ain't for no punk. And the stuff that people go through living this life, if it was under another name, if it was in a different time, for the things they do, they'd be honored for it. They'd be getting medals, ribbons, and awards. But because they're not on the right side of the law, because their name is not a non-profit or related to some political or country, but instead deem a criminal enterprise, they're being punished and put into jails and never allowed to come home. But regardless of the level of violence or what they choose to make a living and feed their family, It takes hearts to live this life. And part of my project is to show you that these are men that are deserving of my respect. Maybe civilians don't agree with me, but these are people that I respect and people that I've grown to love and care about. And that I know that if given a different opportunity or another chance, maybe they choose something else, or maybe not. You know, I don't know what everybody's mindset is, but the point of this here is most of the stories that are being told to you guys share the movies, American Gangster with Frank Lucas, Goodfellas, all these different mob movies, gangster movies and all that stuff. 99% of all this shit is told from a perspective of a buster. You know, when someone testifies, they're always going to testify in a way that puts them in the best light according to their deal and according to what the prosecutor expects. Well, my hope is down the road is to have an opportunity to share the stories with you guys from a perspective of a man, from somebody that did everything that they were supposed to do the right way. And I think we could use that. Hear the story from the horse's mouth from people that aren't busters, that aren't ex-member this, ex-member that. Welcome to the USP.